Greetings and salutations, tube dwellers. Welcome back to Starcraft 2 Heart of the Swarm. I have a different video in mind for you today. I'm still feeling a little under the weather. Still got a little of this strep throat atrocity going on. I've also been having a lot of trouble. I've won a couple ZvPs. I've lost a couple ZvPs. I would say I'm about equal against Protoss with my Zerg. What I'm having trouble with, though, is my plan. I don't have one consistent thing that I feel like a consistent build that I feel like I can use to adapt to any potential build the Protoss can do and still come out on even footing or better. So, the idea for this video is I'm going to go look at some pro replays. I'm not going to cast a full pro replay. In fact, this is not going to be very objective or organized at all. I'm basically just going to record various snippets of me looking at some things some Zerg pro players do and oogling over them and seeing if I can incorporate them into my play. See if I can just make a generic plan for the matchup. I have went and downloaded some professional replays. You can see I've made a couple different folders here. I like to keep my folders in a matchup order that shows who wins. So if it's a ZvP, that indicates that it's a Zerg versus a Protoss and the Zerg wins. Whereas a PvZ indicates that it's a Protoss versus Zerg and the Protoss wins. That way, whenever I want to see good play from a certain angle, I have the organization to do that. So you'll notice that most of these, actually I think all of these, are liquid players. I've got some liquid ret, some snoot, and some TLO. And all of these are specifically against Protoss players, and there's some notable Protoss player names here. This is mainly just because it was really easy to get liquid replay packs. Liquipedia is an amazing resource. I highly suggest you you go check out some of the replay packs of some of their players. And they are a very Zerg-heavy team, so I figure their Zerg's perspective is probably about, especially an example of 3 different Zerg perspectives from Liquid. It's about as good as I can get when it comes to trying to get a concept of good meta plays, good meta builds that are generally thought of as viable. That does make it a little bit one-sided. You know, you should try to diversify a little bit more than this even. You should watch some Korean Zergs, you should watch some EG Zergs, some Liquid Zergs, some Gosu Gamer Zergs, etc., etc. I'm not necessarily going to be doing that. Mine will be a little bit focused to Team Liquid. But that's quite alright. Team Liquid players are great. They're far better than I am, and I'm sure I could learn a lot from a lot of these replays. Now, the structure. I'm going to zoom through some first. I've watched like 2 of these games. I watched this game with Todd and this game with Elfie. But I haven't watched many of these others, and actually Snoot has some play that is already really making me think some good things. But I'm going to zoom through a couple different games. I'm going to try to do it really fast and just get a sense of what the major plan of the Zerg player is. And if possible, I would love to do it on Heart of the Swarm maps. This is a Heart of the Swarm map. Let's start with this one. Here we go, zooming. For the most part, I don't care about a lot of what's going on here. I'm going to keep it at ×8 speed. We're just going to speed right through this early game. This is going to be a gateway-based opening from the Protoss, and it looks like it's a 15 hatch from the Zerg. Very interesting. That was gas right after pool, I believe, although that's not real important. That's small things. I'm getting some frame rate drops. That's pretty normal on ×8 speed. The Protoss is going to whip out an expansion. That's a good sign. I like standard games. I want to have a plan for my standard games. Whenever the game devolves into chaos, I can kind of work from there. You know, I can kind of just crisis management and make some good decisions in the moment. I'm not sure that seeing some pro players deal with crisis management will necessarily help my crisis management. But seeing some pro players doing a general build may very well help me flesh out what my general build should be. Wow, Bling was very aggressive with that push, too. He's a couple zealots. He has basically no defense here. Looks like there is going to be a little bit of Ling aggression. It mainly just looks like he's poking to see what he can accomplish. And it's going to be roaches. I like this. In Wings of Liberty, I would say that a roach into infestor, a very robust roach into some defensive infestors, was my standard in Wings of Liberty, but I really don't feel like the infestors are doing the greatest anymore. Another thing to note is that against the Protoss here, we are facing a Stargate style, so the Hydralisk Den has come out. That may or may not have come out if the Protoss did not go with the Stargate style. I also want to see some things like drone count. Just past the 10-minute mark, we aren't quite at 79 drones. It's something I noticed in a Snoot game. He got up to 70-something drones before he built a single Zergling, and I assume it's just because he knew the Protoss player he was against well enough. So I'm getting a general feel for how this is going. Rhett's keeping a supply lead. He's very Hydralisk heavy. And if we look at the production queue, Colossi are just coming out. The range is not there yet, and there's only one Colossi on the field. I did not look at the time of this replay, but if there's an attack right here, Liquid Rets should do huge damage. Well, there are 2 Colossi. Oh, and he's getting a bunch of roaches trapped. I can't tell you how often that happens to me. I'm going to start slowing it down just a touch more because I really want to see how these 2 compositions work against each other. I really cannot use Roach Hydra against Protoss, Colossi included compositions. I want to see if there's anything that Rhett does that makes this composition work. He does have a 4th. This looks like, he went very quickly to Vipers. This is interesting. Oh, and there's a yoink. A yoink on the Colossus. And Bling has to get out. Okay, yeah, some parts of this are becoming very clear now. Exactly how this works out. I'm guessing a Blinding Cloud is going to allow him to really do nasty things to these Stalkers. And maybe not even. Stalkers are not great against a Roach Hydra composition, mainly because they're not very cost-effective against Hydras, and they don't kill Roaches very quickly. So did he somehow end up losing both of his Colossi there? I think so. So he's going Storm now, and he has no Colossi. I would love to fight a Protoss in this position. This is just beautiful. Colossi are really the one unit that makes me unsure how I should construct my mid-game and go about it all. That was a pretty good flank. That's some kind of stuff that I would like to think that I can pull off, but obviously there's no way I'm going to be able to do it as cleanly as Rhett did there, and I'm sure that this is going to show. It's actually not hugely in the favor of Zerg, but he's ahead enough that it is a smash fest. It is some smashery. Okay, so generally speaking here, we have a Roach, and it looks like if it weren't for the air, this probably would have been mostly Roach. Maybe he would have still gotten the Hydralisks, and maybe he would have still included those, but maybe he would have cut that out altogether, and it would have been strictly Roach into these Vipers. I'm not sure about that. I would really like to see a Rhett ZvP where the Protoss does not use a Stargate in the beginning, and see if he still gets those Hydras. These Evos are just for Viper consumption. I'd really like to see if he still gets Hydras, even if the Protoss doesn't go air, because I feel like this can be really powerful right up until Colossi come out. The second Colossi come out, every Hydralisk you have is a liability. That's a little bit of an overstatement, but I kind of feel that way. I really just get face rolled the second I'm sticking to Roach Hydra with Colossi on the field. I noticed that he got up to Vipers very quickly. Before the first time he really engaged the Protoss Colossi army with this Roach Hydra, he had Vipers out. I've got a feeling, though, that no air, he would not have gotten the Hydralisk in, and it probably would have been something more a little bit like Roach Viper, and he really would have relied on the Vipers to pull either Colossi or Immortals into the Roach army and focus them really quickly and easily. And maybe if there were no Colossi, he might have focused a little bit more on Blinding Cloud, because more Immortals are a little bit immobile, so that's going to really punish them. Alright, let's jump out of this and into another replay. Now, it's possible that is Rhett's go-to ZvP. Roach Hydra into... Ooh, this is Hasuab, it's on the same map. That's interesting. Roach Hydra into... And it's possible that this map is good for Protoss Air. I'm not actually sure. Maybe I should not want to get on that same map. You know what? He's got 3 of that map. Let's do it. Let's see if he doesn't go Hydras in one of these. That'd be kind of neat. Anyway, as I was saying before I repeatedly interrupted myself, it's possible that Rhett's go-to build in ZvP is this Roach Hydra backed up by Vipers very quickly kind of build. And if that's the case, then it would be most fruitful for me to either do a deep dive on this build, upon the next game in this replay, as the next step in my plan to figure out how to improve, or jump to a different player who I think will have a different style. And I know for a fact that Snoot used a very different style in both of the games that I watched him play. Both of those replays I already watched. I would like to see, though, it doesn't look like, well, I guess it's not going to be here quite yet. It could be. I don't think this is a Stargate play from Hasuabs. And that would back up my previous knowledge of Hasuab's, I know that he likes the gateways, and this is some huge gateway aggression. This is really big pressure. This is 2-base pressure. Let's go ahead and slow it down, because a lot of interesting things are happening right here. A lot of forging of the next stage of this game is happening right now. Hasuab's has decided not to expand, which should already be down if he was going to do it, and he's done this gateway play. Now, that looked like it was a 4-gate. I guess that wasn't really heavy, it was just really early. And now he's going into the Stargates. So I don't believe Rhett has seen the Stargates yet. And you know what? This is out. Okay, hold on. In this game, I'm going to do something a little bit different. Let's go ahead and bring this bar up. Let's jump back to right about here. I want to see when this Hydralisk Din came out, and I want to see if... Okay, so the Stargates have just now started. So I'm going to watch the production tab for that Hydralisk Din, and I'm going to watch Rhett's vision to see when he scouts these Stargates. I want to see if his Hydralisk Din is a contingency plan that only comes out when Stargates are out, or if this is something that he adds to his normal play. Because I've kind of had an urge to put Hydras in the mix, even without seeing Stargates, and I feel like if the Protoss sniffs it out and gets to Colossi quickly, it's a real liability. Having Hydras at all, having invested money in Hydras. Colossi are just so effective against them. Still watching the production tab. Still seeing no Hydralisk Din, and it's possible I may have come back a little bit far. I came back right into the midst of this gateway pressure. We'll go ahead and speed it up a little bit. So Hasuab's is building air units right now. The Stargates are up. And it doesn't look like Rhett has seen any of it. I don't think he's seen the Hydralisk Din is going down. Okay, so hold on. It just now went down a couple seconds ago. I may even have to use the Rhett cam here just to see if there's something. Okay, that's Hasuab's. Just to see if there's a tell. Was there already an air unit on the field that I wasn't watching? Okay, this is Rhett's actual camera, and that was still just too late. Just back one more little bit. Let's see here. Okay, Rhett's zooming around. He's being Rhett. He's got super APM. His APM would dominate my APM all over the face. So he jumped over here, and he didn't see anything. There are no air units out yet. He's just seen pylons. I wonder if this is a read. So sometimes, pro players especially, they can tell just by what's on the field what else you could be doing, and then they could deduce based on their past experience with this specific player, or based on the map and the situation, out of those potential options that the other player has, what he is most likely doing. So it's possible that Rhett just assumed Stargate, and so threw down this this Hydralisk Din. So that doesn't really satisfy me. I don't think this is evidence of either one. I don't think this is evidence that he always put Hydralisks into his play, and I don't think it's evidence that he only uses them as a contingency plan. So let's zoom this back up. I do still want to see whether or not he goes with the Vipers, and now that I'm expecting him to do the Vipers, let me look for a couple key pieces that'll lead into the Vipers. He's going to have to get an Infestation Pit and go Hive. It's possible that he feels that crushing that gateway pressure has put him in such a lead that he can just end the game here. But I'm not sure. And it looks like Hasu is expanding. Rather late expansion, but it's possible he can keep the Zerg defensive. I still don't see the Infestation Pit coming out. There's a Spire. That's an interesting play. So this looks like it's not the same follow-up to what he did in the last game. He's not going to sprint straight to Vipers quite as quickly. And Hasu instead is sprinting to Carriers. LOL! So apparently this is going to be quite the different match, and this is a very, very I don't know how to say it. Colossi destroyed this army. Somehow Rhett knows. Somehow Rhett has pinned Hasu away from Colossi. He knows that Hasu's not getting Colossi. He's either had some pretty stellar scouting in here. I actually don't even think Hasu has a robo, so it's possible that Rhett knows this, and he just stuck on Hydralisks. He didn't need to go to Hive. I would have really liked to seen what the lair was for. Was he planning a Mutalisk transition? And I'll go ahead and spoil it. Snoot did something like that. He wasn't using this Hydralisk play. Instead, he was being very robust with Roaches for a little while and forcing the Protoss to be really afraid of the Roaches. And Roaches can be a scary thing for a Protoss until he gets the right Immortal count out. And then Snoot would throw down a Spire and switch over to Mutas. And the Mutalisk catch would force the Protoss not to make Colossi, because the Protoss would need his gas for things like Stalkers and potentially High Templar. The Mutas also deal really well with the Immortals that he's going to have out in a flurry to deal with the Roaches, so it was just kind of a really smart play. This doesn't satisfy me. I want to watch one more Rhett game. Lucky for me, there is one more Rhett game on that exact same map. So I don't know if this is good. I've seen air 2 out of 2 times from Protoss on this map. It's possible that it's common knowledge, and I'm just unaware of it, that air is really good on this map. And it is a pretty wide open map, so that would support the things that would tell me, my little noob brain, what kind of things would make air strong. Wide open spaces, that helps make air strong. Air's very quick. Air doesn't have to go around terrain. It goes right at the top of it. So the bigger the map, generally speaking, the relatively more powerful air becomes. This is Snoot. How did I load up a Snoot replay? You know what? We'll go with it. Screw it. I would really like to see another Rhett replay. I would really like to see if I can find a situation where he does not go Hydras, or if that is a staple of his build right now. If that's something that he always puts some investment into. And I know that Snoot, and we can see it here, is very drone hungry at all times. All the Snoot games that I watched, he tries real hard not to get any Zerglings. He'll get the queens instead of Zerglings, and he focuses all of his larvae directly into drones. Let's see what he's building here. He is finally putting out some roaches, and he's getting a third. That third seems late. A couple frame rate drops. It looks like he's sniffed out a potential for some aggression. So this is the kind of thing that would skew a game. This early aggression isn't something that always comes from a Zerg player. And there's a lot of situations where this is not going to work out. Snoot can probably read the game well enough that he can tell what kind of things will allow this pressure to work out. I'm not that good at the game. I can't really tell what situation in the early stages will let a push like this work. So this takes him off of a standard game, and it makes it less valuable for me to see. I would really like to see just a standard game. I would like to see the types of compositions he fields. So it looks like we're going 1 Evo with some roaches and some Zerglings. He's not really getting heavy on each. It's either, I mean, it's not a robust roach play. It's kind of a little bit of both. And Titan does have a robo facility, and he does also have the robotic support base, so I totally expect to see Colossi, and sure enough, he's building one. Now this is what, whoa, this is what makes it really interesting for me. That is not good. Okay, so this game is skewed even more away from the standard. Snoot is going to be able to rally to defeat him. Now, how is the turnout going to go? Is this where the game's about to end? I feel like it might end right here. I feel like Snoot might have a big enough counter swing, especially if this Colossi stays out of position. And it looks like Snoot is focusing fire on sentries. Oh, yeah, this is the end of the game. That was a really nice move with those roaches there. And we see what I talked about Snoot doing. He does have it. The plan is in the cooker. And I'm starting to think that this plan may be dependent on whether or not you see Robotech from the Protoss player. If you do, then you're probably a go-ahead to do this little follow-up. He did get the Spire. I'm not sure where he put it, but it's up. And this is about when he would normally be. And see, he's got the gas built up and everything. This build just lines up perfectly for it. Excuse me. A little bit of strep throat attacking me there. Probably need to stop recording for a little while, calm my voice, and then start recording again. I like to see the consistency, even in a weird game. He's still doing this Muta follow-up. But this game was really weird, so I don't think there's a whole lot I could take from this, other than, like, some methods of crisis management. Okay, this may get a little bit mixed up, but I really... Let me see where Rhett's end. Snoot. Okay, so that's where Snoot begins. Okay, so Rhett only has 2 replays on this one map. Let's go to a different map. Why not Daybreak? Sure. And why not Titan? Titan did just play a Robo style there, and that's what I'm interested in seeing, mostly. If Protoss plays an air style, I feel like it's really easy to just respond with Hydras and then do a Hydra timing right afterwards and killing before you can get Colossi out. Air is very gas expensive, and it takes a while to get Colossi out after doing an air opener. So that gives you plenty of time to get in there with the Hydras. Maybe that's less considerable on larger maps where it takes the Hydras a long time to get over there, but I feel pretty confident in my ability to do that. And if he's doing an air opener, I know it early enough that it kind of guides my build. My build goes down a Roach Hydra path. And I don't know, I guess I don't have a late game plan whenever that's the case. But I don't know, that doesn't bother me. I feel okay with it. Rhett, loving them drones, staying about 10 ahead of his opponent. It's kind of cool to see. Very few units from Rhett as of yet. He's just now building what it's going to take to defend this push. That's a lot of sentries. That's a lot of control. Oh, but Rhett's got it. And he's getting even more Zerglings out right now. He's being patient. He's staying back. Let's slow this down. Why not have a little entertainment value in the middle of a cast? Or in the middle of a little bit of analysis, a little bit of build research. Ooh, it's a nice little trap on that queen. Definitely worth 2 force fields. Titan is also being very... So what is this? What are we looking at here? We're looking at a 5 gate with a robo on the back end. So he added the robo upon seeing the roach count, I'm sure. Actually, with the Protoss, you can probably assume the Zerg's going to have roaches. And it's just too much. It's way too much for Titan. I'm thinking this game may end before it really gets off the ground. Boom! This is what I wanted to see. Here I am seeing it. Look at this. Okay, so this is a very generic Protoss build. This is a very standard game. The Protoss did some gateway pressure. It wasn't an all-in gateway pressure. 5 gates is light gateway pressure. And it wasn't an early timing. The 4 gate can be an early timing. He sat out here and warped in with Rhett knowing it was coming. It wasn't like what Hasuabs did a little bit ago, where he tried to rush in there with some early zealots as fast as he possibly could. And we see no Stargate anything. Absolutely no Stargate. He's gone Robo. I don't know if Rhett knows that he's gone Robo. But with no Stargate, we see from Rhett a Hydralisk Den. This, I think, is evidence across these couple games that this Hydralisk Den is a regular part of Rhett's play. I think he's always getting this against Protoss because there is no air threat that the Hydralisks just really devastate. Hydralisks can be cost-effective in a number of situations. They're super cost-effective against air, so I could see a pro player wanting to only ever field Hydralisks if there's that situation where they can be super cost-effective, if the Protoss is fielding air, but no such thing is happening from Titan. And I don't think Rhett is getting any kind of a read. I'm pretty sure Rhett probably knows what's going on. He had to have known that wasn't an all-in gateway pressure, and I believe he has. He didn't see the expansion until he just now moved up here, so he could think that Titan was going to follow it up with air, but I bet he got this... oh, and now actually he's getting the Spire. And I don't think he's built a single Hydralisk. We see not a one on the field. This is interesting, and now that he sees the Robo, let's see. He sees an Immortal, so he knows that there's a Robo involved. Oh, I like that Titan was able to stabilize. That means that this game proceeds. Now, there was a little bit of gateway pressure, but this really feels like a standard game to me. There wasn't really any kind of absolute craziness. There wasn't really early pressure from the Zerg, and there wasn't any pressure from the Protoss that you don't see in most matches. Some gateway pressure right around that timing is pretty common. So Red's getting up. Oh, and this! Wow, okay, so we got the Spire. All right. I want to renege on the statement I just made about thinking that this was evidence. And you know what? He's still getting Hydralisk upgrades anyway. This is even more interesting. Maybe I don't need to renege. Okay, so here's my train of thought as it was just unfolding. It's possible that Rhett, when he held off that gateway timing, was getting a read that a Stargate would be coming out, even though one wasn't. So it's possible still that he threw this Hydralisk Den down, thinking he was going to use it against Stargate units. He then got over here, though. He saw an Immortal, so he knows that Titan's investing in Robotech. Robotech is pretty gas-heavy. Generally speaking, you won't see combat units out of the Robo and a Stargate. If the Protoss has a Stargate, he's probably just going to be, if he has a Stargate and a Robo, I should say, he's probably just going to be using the Robo for, like, an Observer, maybe a Warp Prison. But he saw an Immortal, so he knows that the Protoss is actually using the Robo. He's got a Robo, and he's using it for combat units. And when he saw that Immortal, he put out... I want to see the exact timing on that, actually. I think it was right around here. When he saw the Immortal... a little further back. I really misjudged Spire timing, or maybe I went further past it than I thought. So he's still defending right here, right? This Gateway Force is about to push in. Let's go ahead and speed it back up. Let's just go ahead and look over here for right now. I can see on the mini-map. Forces push in, flank comes out, and the surround happens. Protoss goes down. Now Rhett's going to push across the map. When Rhett's Zerglings are right here assaulting this third is when he sees the Immortal. Bam, he sees the Immortal. So this actually went down before he saw the Immortal. This makes me think it might just be a contingency plan. It's weird that Rhett didn't do this in the other games, though. And this could just be inconsistency in play. But Rhett ends up going for Mutas. We saw just a second ago. Rhett invests in Mutas. having a bit of difficulty seeing a surefire this option. You know, I'm having difficulty seeing Rhett's default. And it's very possible that he's just changing things up from game to game for the sake of changing things up. Although that's not very common for professional StarCraft players. Normally it is the most efficient answer. And the only time they use a different answer is when they have some specific knowledge that the different answer may be more efficient by surprise value. And so here Rhett uses Mutalisks. Now this is something that Snoot does a lot in a lot of his games, and I may save going through some of those. I may not go through them just because I've seen a couple of them, and it's something very similar to this. It's Roach Pressure into Mutalisks. Seeing that Rhett got that Hydralisk in makes me think that maybe it's not bad to invest in... No, he's actually going Hydras. I was getting ready to say maybe it's not bad to invest in a contingency plan, but he feels safe right now with Colossi on the field, even with a decent Hydra count. Now he's got a solid lead on Titan. The army probably shows, yeah, almost 2 grand is the bonus, and it's just going to be a smash. There were not enough Colossi to hold up to this Corruptor count, and that is a pretty big Corruptor count. And then ground force on ground force, well, the Zergs, I don't know, I guess you could call these infantry. The Zerg's infantry are just better, as I see the Zerg get defended. Those warp-ins, those instant Protoss reinforcements. This is a habit I need to develop, using spine crawlers as you get to Hive Tech. There are a couple periods of time while you're developing Hive Tech where you're pretty vulnerable. And yeah, the Protoss just can't keep up with this steamroll. This momentum is just too huge. Now the Zerg's going to start bouncing around and doing nasty stuff all over the place. 1 Colossi, it is not enough. And that's probably good game. As a matter of fact, it's good game enough for me. So we've seen a couple different things, and none of them are what my Wings of Liberty go-to was, which is robust Roaches, double Evo upgrades for Roaches, be really aggressive and pushy with Roaches, and then if the game continues, get out Infestors, begin teching to Hive, be defensive until you have a momentum-filled Broodlord army. Let's jump over to TLO, shall we? Why not? Ooh. Until I finish, it's an out-of-date Oh, and that version of StarCraft is unavailable. That is atrocious. So hold on, that was Tassadar, right? Let's see him against Baby Knight. Oh no, is this TLO replay pack too old? Ooh, it's gonna be. I wonder if these are from the beta. I bet they are. Okay, well, you know what? Let's substitute then. Let's jump over to Snoot. This is one that I have not seen yet. Both of the Snoot ZvP replays that I did see, he did the very tech switchy Roach into Muta type of build. And honestly, I like that a lot. I think that's probably going to be what I take away from this, is instead of the Infestors that I used to do in the mid-game, I'm going to do Mutas in the mid-game. Wellmu saying that PVZ is not his best matchup. Being very delayed on that photon cannon, which he can be. Looking pretty standard from both sides so far. No crazy cheese. A little bit of mothership core pressure. Also very standard. I think Protoss would be silly not to do it. I love the shadows on see-through, on translucent parts of the unit. That's so cool. Okay, we got a lot of Ling movement here. I want to see, is this just scouting? Oh, okay. This looks like an Immortal all-in from Wellmu. I'm not totally certain, but this is about the time you'd be moving out, and you move out with the Immortals while adding gateways on the back. Let's just see his gateway count. It'll probably tell me. Yeah, 5 gates. Oh, yeah, this is an Immortal Sentry all-in. So as this push begins and gears up is where it really gets nasty. And I'm not going to see from Snoot the play that I've been seeing, the Spire play, because the Spire is not a good way to deal with this. Sacking the third and saving as many drones from it as possible is ideal. Maybe not ideal, but it works. It works pretty consistently. And it looks like he wants to try a base race. No, he's going to do a little bit of damage up front, and then Wellmu's going to recall most of his army, and that gets Wellmu out of position. This is probably the losing blow. Having... What? What? Snoot has drops? Snoot has drop tech? He got drop tech in this game? What? He researched Overlord drops. He wasn't planning on doing any kind of Spire business. He was going to do a really meaty ground force and just take it to the main. I like that. I actually like that a lot. I was hoping I would see a lot more of that. I was expecting to see a lot of that from TLO. Sucks that I can't watch his replays. Snoot does have a third base up. He saved enough drones from it that I'm not sure Wellmu will push into this. And if he does, then Roaches and the Overlords negate force fields. So did Snoot sniff this out and get drop tech specifically to counter the Immortal Sentry all-in? That is sick. That is an amazing counter to the Immortal Sentry all-in. Notice how many sentries are here. This push relies heavily on the Protoss' ability to put down force fields and dominate space, to fight small sections of the Zerg army at one time, and to fight him where his army's not. Push into that third when his army's, you know, out of position or when his army can't respond there. Move up into the third and then force field him out of it. But it looks like that's this drop tech is just going to put an end to that. He can't do anything for it. I think that's a brilliant answer to the Immortal Sentry all-in. That was a really good read from Snoot, though. This thing can be hard to sniff out. To get drop tech, you would have to sniff it out before that little Immortal push moved. And Colossi are in the mix, and Snoot sees this, but he's probably just got too much. I think he's got too much momentum on his side, and sure enough, Wellmu is plummeting in supply. And Snoot is only remaxing with Roaches. So it looks like Snoot could smell blood in the water. He went for the killing blow. No part of his play right now has any degree of concern for a follow-up. Else, I think maybe we would see the Spire. Okay, I think that's enough. Let's find, I think, one more Snoot game and take a look at this. Hopefully, I don't want to watch one of the ones I already watched. There's Wellmu. Let's watch this one I was about to. Why not? No, wait, I did actually go through it, didn't I? Shite! It was a good example, though. It was a solid example of Snoot going mutas at about the timing. Let's see here. Actually, which of these did I watch? Did I watch the one with Elfie or the one with V-Pro? I know I watched the one with Todd. I like Todd a lot. I followed him in Warcraft 3. I actually don't think I watched this one with Elfie on Akalon Wastes. So let us look at this one instead. I think this is a pretty solid Mutalisk map, although the things that I look for in a map that make a Mutalisk map are probably different than the things that Snoot looks for. Whenever Snoot engages with his Mutalisks, he normally engages with the Roaches and Mutalisks together in one army. And to me, the Mutalisk is exclusively a harassment tool. I don't ever use Mutalisk in, I don't know, I would say Idra numbers. Because, I don't know, it's just so risky. All it takes is a little bit of miss micro and your entire army evaporates. Mutas die so easy. No, I definitely have not seen this game. Things are looking pretty standard so far. We got a couple stalker pressure. We got 3 base coming out from the Zerg. Expansion coming up pretty quick from Mr. Elfie. I want to see this. Were those just hallucinations? I think those were just hallucinations. Here we have the double Evo. So this is still this robust Roach style. Double Evo, heavy upgrades, lots of Roaches. And I like that Snoot keeps Zerglings in the mix. He keeps plenty of Zerglings in the mix just because until Colossi come out, even when the Protoss is Zealot heavy, Zerglings are not terrible to have. You don't want to go with a pure Zergling composition just because it's so easy to dominate. But what is this? I don't even know what kind of a push. This looks like a weak Immortal Sentry push. Definitely not an Immortal Sentry all-in, but just like an Immortal Sentry. It's just sharking, I think. He's just coming out on the map. He's forcing the Zerg to make some combat units. And here's the Spire we see. So I'm pretty sure that the Spire was not specifically in response to seeing Elfie go Robo. The Spire is something that Snoot whips out pretty much every game, and I think he would use it a little bit differently. Ooh, huge run-bys happening down here. I just want to see, does that offset it? That's a pretty heavy offset in worker count. And Elfie's not getting a third base, so this is starting to kind of look like it's a death ball all-in push. And Elfie just got hurt there, so... Oh, he is going to expand. Okay, never mind. Never mind. Trying to read the game a little bit more than these pro players know it. Some hallucinations still. Anyway, what I was saying, I think Elfie gets the Spire pretty much I'm sorry, Snoot. I think Snoot gets the Spire pretty much no matter what. And sure enough, we see the Mutas are out. And I think he would just play it a little bit differently if the Protoss went air. I think he would probably include some Corruptors and maybe go really, really heavy on the Mutalisks. I've seen some other Zerg players do that, and it seems viable. So I think I'm coming to a head here, and why not go ahead and slow this down, and let's just get a little liquid snoot action here for a second. I think I want to develop a standard that includes this snoot play. It really makes sense to me in a lot of good ways, and I'll tell you why. Whenever you do the huge robust roach style, get upgrades and roaches and get a lot of roaches, the Protoss player has to do one of two things to survive. He either has to get out Immortals, or he has to get out Stargate units. If he gets out Stargate units, it can be really easy to respond to, and like I said, it can open up that Hydralisk timing that I'm pretty confident with. So I'm not worried about anti-Stargate play. If he gets Immortals to deal with roaches, though, not only can he survive against just the roaches, but he can follow up very quickly into Colossi, and they almost always do. Whenever Protoss follows up into Colossi, that's where I'm scared. Getting Mutalisks out at this timing, where the Protoss has gotten Immortals to deal with your roaches, and is getting ready to get Colossi out, Mutalisks force him to deal with an anti-air threat. Now, there's a couple different ways a Protoss can deal with an anti-air threat. You could either get out of Stargate, you could get out Blink Stalkers and start working towards High Templar. I should have thrown an or in there. It's one or the other. You can either use the Stargate against them, or you can use Blink Stalkers to just survive and try to get out some High Templar pretty quick. That forces the gas. Neither one of those is Colossi. Whenever the Protoss sees Mutalisks from me, his answer can't be Colossi. If he answers with Colossi, he's probably just dead. And everything else the Protoss does, I feel confident against. It's only the Colossi, and that's why I think I like this answer the most. I think it might be a little bit risky, really putting a lot of money into the Mutalisks, because say he gets away with this army, say he gets some High Templars up and then gets a couple money storms off. It can be a huge investment down the drain fast, and I don't know that I really like the follow-up from this. I don't know that I like going straight into Hive and Broodlord next, although maybe it's okay if I start, yeah, see, Snoot's already getting air upgrades, so maybe this leads into Broodlord's okay. I would say probably not as good as going Infestor Broodlord like I did in Wings of Liberty, but maybe this Muta thing is not a bad way to eventually get to Broodlords. I think I like this more than just about anything else I've seen, and I also like that Rhett is very willing to put out a Hydralisk Den. I think I should also, and I have been anyway, I think I should also be very willing to field at least the Hydralisk Den, if not some Hydras themselves. So there we go. I now have what I would call resolution on my question of what the fuck do I do in ZvP? I have an idea now. So my next step might be to go into some of these replays and look at some specifics on exactly when they start getting gas before the mutas to time up with the mutas, exactly when they get roach upgrades, if they do, and how heavily they get them. Do they do 2 Evo roach upgrades, or do they just do 1 Evo roach upgrades? And then play a bunch of games with all of these things in mind. Primary factor being that I want to do a Mutalisk follow-up to roach pressure early. That, I think, is going to be my new standard moving forward in ZvP. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this. If you have, please let me know. This is definitely not the normal thing that I do, but I don't know. This is not the normal thing I do a video on. I do this kind of stuff all the time. I just normally don't record myself doing it. If it came out a little scatterbrained, or if you had trouble making sense of any of the things that I said, then by all means tell me that too. I like all types of feedback, including the negative, hopefully constructive negative, but negative is fine. I respond very well to negative comments, and I focus inwardly for self-improvement pretty well too. At least I think so. Alright, that's it. Thanks for watching, guys. See you later.